My name's Deborah Saunt and I run an architectural studio called DSDHA, and I also teach, and our practice straddles between architecture and research. Background of my company is I set it up with my partner David Hills 15 years ago. We didn't come out of the big boys working for Foster's or Rogers. We started with back extensions, and at the same time we were also teaching at Cambridge and looking at really large scale infrastructure projects, because it's always been a passion of mine, even as an architect, to understand about the big scale of the city. And then over the last 15 years, somehow the two have aligned, and so we're no longer doing quite such small residential projects, but we're definitely doing infrastructure projects. So we're kind of achieving our goals in that respect. I have a real passion about how cities grow and evolve, and what I've really noticed is everybody's using their handheld device to navigate the city. So people's awareness of mapping is really growing exponentially. 10 years ago, people had this old tattered thing called an A to Z. If they wanted to find out what was going on, they didn't even have proper internet kind of databases. But now we're really hoping that technology will integrate this information so that you can actually use a map, not only to find out where you're going and what lies ahead physically, but also what lies ahead in the future. So you could use a kind of integrated mapping system as a way of finding out what's happening where I am right now, what are the bigger plans that are going to affect it, how can I get involved? So it's really about kind of linking the individual to the sort of super scale of the city, and also to the built environment in terms of what's your neighbour doing, really kind of bringing that information into one place so that it's easy to access. But I think if you look at mapping in the UK, for example, there are sort of nascent integrated mapping systems that look at, perhaps it's a local council, you can go onto it and there'll be one map, and on it you can find out when your rubbish bin is going to be collected and if there are any planning permissions being applied for nearby. So it's kind of nascent, but it's really very ad hoc. It's not one that links up all of the agencies, and it's kind of a bit DIY at the moment. If you go to Singapore, it's a much more ambitious, though a bit smaller as a nation obviously, it's a more ambitious place where they're really grabbing hold of technology and making this integrated mapping part of their kind of built environment strategy. I was there recently and somebody said, well, do you have onemap.sg? And I was like, no, of course not. Well, they said, if you're interested in how Singapore is going to grow, there's one place you go to, and it's this one map upon which you can see all of the layers of kind of projective plans that they're looking at, options that they might be considering about different infrastructures, different building proposals, right down to providing you sort of information about rather like a kind of journey planner. So it integrates with live transport information and future projections. But what's great is rather than having to go to a separate website for land ownership, it's all accessed through this one website. So you can click on a site, see who owns it, see what plans are available, what future opportunities lie. So it really sort of maximises the opportunity of the city as a place for exchange. In terms of what I'm doing personally to sort of push and promote this idea of integrated mapping, I'm really trying to draw it to everybody's attention and use live projects to illustrate it. If you go to Vauxhall, for example, the Nine Elms development sort of setting, you've got the American Embassy, you've got huge towers, you've got future transport plans. You can't find out anything about it unless you go to several websites. So we're based in Vauxhall, we've just moved there. So we're strongly lobbying in Vauxhall to see if maybe we can do this on a micro scale with the local business improvement district, to see if we can take the sort of interests that are at play there, the sort of projective plans, the kind of responses from local people with counter plans, and also simple things like, where do I get my bins collected if I'm a business as well as a resident. So it's sort of integrating residential requirements with business requirements and those of the local authority. So lobbying there. And then at another level, I'm working with my brother who runs Aston Technology, who is a mapper. So we're just beginning to sort of put out feelers to see if we can look at a system that builds on the work he does to really kind of integrate on a sort of grander scale than has been previously imagined. So if you'd like to learn more about the integrated mapping that we're beginning to research and explore, go to our website, www.dsdha.co.uk.